There are rules to success. These rules are non-avoidable, they're universal, and they are applied across the board. 2020, I put my entire net worth into crypto. People tell me I'm crazy. I'm playing Call of Duty, and Cardano, for example, hits a penny, right? The entire thing tanks. I put 10 grand into Cardano, put another $10,000 daily into Ethereum when Ethereum's $80, $90. I come from Argentina, small town, about 19,000 people. At the age of 17, I dropped out of high school. I failed every year. Every year I would go to summer school. I would say, fuck it. My parents didn't, I went to English school, Spanish school. My parents were like, Luke, like, you're not obeying, you're not following the rules. I said, fuck it. I don't want any of this stuff. I want to be rich. I want to do my own thing. I don't want people to bother me. At the age of 17, I had an argument with my parents. Remember, I live in a small farm town of 17,000 people. English is not my first language. I'm just a genius. So I know how to speak different languages extremely well. I'm in the process of learning Italian. So we'll see in a few months how that pans out. But my worldview comes from a place of me not having anything and knowing the potential to have everything. And most people lack the self-belief in understanding that they are truly in control of their life. And I preach this very often, that the life that you have is the life that you choose. I could have easily chosen to sell water bottles or those big like water jugs that they have in third world countries because they don't have like clean water that you can, go buy. So you have to buy the big things that they send to your house. That was what one of my best friends is doing right now. He has 4 kids. He's a loser. And that was the decisions that he chose to make. So I was like, how do I make the right decisions? And the playbook is very easy because the playbook dictates that there are rules to success. These rules are non-avoidable, they're universal, and they are applied across the board. And the first rule is have a goal, right? Without a goal, you don't know where you're going. You don't know where you're headed. There's a high likelihood that you're going to fail. Whether you have a convoy, whether it's a ship going to the ocean, if you know your destination, where you want to go, it's easier than if you don't. And the truth is most people walk around in life like accidents. They don't know why they do what they do. If I was to go to your local town, if I was to go to your local town, Mo, back home, and I was to ask people, what is your goal? 99 out of 100 people don't have one. And my goal was, I need to get out of here. That was my first goal. So what I did was I contacted my uncle. My uncle was a pilot. So at the age of 17, with $200 in a suitcase, I asked my uncle to get me a flight to New York. Of course, that's all, New York, Florida, those are like the popular places you just go. And I sat in the flight attendant seat, right? So where the flight attendants sit, that's where I sat. And like the people in first class looked at me like, who the fuck is this kid? Like, what is he doing? Like, this is weird, right? So I sat there all embarrassed and I landed in New York and I started working regular jobs. I worked in the kitchen. I was washing toilets. I did door-to-door sales. I slept in my car. My grandmother blessed me. She gave me a little $4,000 Buick, that my dream car. I'll probably buy one and just pimp around in Miami in that thing. We got to bring back our broke cars. You know what I mean, Mo? We have to bring back the cars when we were broke. Like, we got to bring back those cars, bro, and just flex on the brokies with those cars, with the cars that were the come up cars. So I would sleep in my car, door-to-door sales, would work 2-3 jobs. Then my car broke down. I had a car accident. I was drifting. It was so dumb. I had a car accident, so I had to take public transport. And that was the worst time in my life. I was about 19, 20 at that time. And I was working 3 jobs. The first job, I was working waiting tables at a restaurant, a Spanish restaurant. I got in because, of course, I speak Spanish. The second one, I was working as an intern at the Washington Post. That was gay. It was a terrible job. Excuse me. I know it's politically correct, guys. I apologize. It's okay. And then the third job was I was just trying to figure out how to make money. And then this was the year, I think 2016 or something like that. And a fellow server of mine was like, oh, I'm trading. Oh, I make like $10,000 a month trading, all this stuff, right? This was pre-bull market, pre-anything, giving you the short story. And I was like, okay, cool. And then he mentioned one word. He said, Bitcoin. Have you heard of Bitcoin? And I'm like, no, what is it? And I remember being at like where the servers kind of stand and you kind of have like your server area and they kind of all congregate and you have your point of sales and all that shit. And he showed it to me and it was $400. I was like, damn, that's expensive. And Tesla at the time was like 250 or 200, something like that. So I was like, okay, let me get a Robinhood account before Robinhood was popular. I bought like a ton of stock trading books. I read them on my way to work. I was in the metro I was in the bus for about an hour and a half. Then I took the metro 30 minutes. I was living in Washington, D.C. at that time. So it was a really long commute from really far back in Arlington. And I would just consume that content. As I would make my money in the tips, right? I would get that cash that same day. I would go to Wells Fargo, I would deposit it. And I would buy stuff. So that same day, the money that I made, I would deposit. And it was deposited into 2 things. One, it was Bitcoin. And then the second thing was deposited was my ad spend for my e-commerce, because I was learning e-commerce. So the tip that I would make that day didn't go to anything except those 2 things. It was investing, right? I was buying Bitcoin. I didn't know what the fuck it was. I was just like, okay, like I'm just going to buy it, whatever. Like, let me figure it out. And then the ad spend that we had, it was me and my brother, the ad spend that we had for the next day was the tips that we would make the day before. So we would run like our little e-commerce products, all that stuff. That was our come up. And then in 2017 was the first bull run. And then that first bull run, I learned something. Never listen to the majority of people because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And I was the one that listened to the majority, and I 30x'd my portfolio at that time. I think it was worth like 300,000. Remember, I'm like broke, right? I'm broke. And it goes up to 300,000. I pull out a loan. I remember I go to Wells Fargo. I'm excited. This is at the top of the bull run, right? When XRP was $3.50. Mm-hmm. And I get a loan for $15,000. I put it in. A week later, boom, everything tanks. I lose everything. I'm left with $1,000. I'm like, fuck, okay. Okay, what do I do now? That's my portfolio. I'm making e-commerce money. I'm doing these things. But I was like, bro, what did I learn? And what I realized is most people focus on the mistake instead of focusing on the lesson. And I figured out, okay, what are the lessons that I learned? What are the things that I need to take so that the next time this happens, because it's inevitable that it was going to happen again. And the reason I knew it was inevitable because it was the power of social media that was going to push this to the new generation. And I was right. So for the next 2 years, I did multiple 8 figures in e-commerce. Shout out to Steve and Evan Tan. They really inspired me. We're now business partners in Capital Club. Now the sensei and the mentor have kind of united for the global takeover. And in 2020, I put my entire net worth into crypto. Every single dollar that I had, I put into crypto in 2020. This was pre-bull run. Everybody was like, no, dude, this is a terrible idea. This was when the entire thing was collapsing. I remember I was smoking a joint. I don't no longer smoke. Shout out to Mo. Mo's a straight arrow dude. I like him for that. I appreciate that. I appreciate the hustle, and I appreciate the steady clear-mindedness. And it's a challenge for myself, by the way, for everybody looking, is that the serious killers in life are the small killers in life. The things in life are the things that pull small advantages away, right? The small advantages that you have with your competitors, whether it's weed, whether it's bad food, all these things, right? Mm-hmm. So shout out to Mo for that. But back to my point, 2020, I put my entire net worth into crypto. People tell me I'm crazy. I'm playing Call of Duty, and Cardano, for example, hits a penny, right? The entire thing tanks. I put 10 grand into Cardano. I put another $10,000 daily into Ethereum when Ethereum's $80, $90. You can go to my highlights at Luke Belmar on Instagram. It's all recorded. And then I'm like, okay. Remember, in 2017, I was buying BNB at $2, right? This was Binance. I was like, Binance is amazing. I had talked to CZ on Clubhouse a little bit before I got banned on that platform, obviously. I got banned twice. And then I was like, okay, I need to bet on winners. I need to bet not on products, but I need to bet on winning people. So by the way, I have the Pancake Swap tattoo tatted right here on my neck because I put my entire net worth into a token called Pancake Swap. I was the number 10 holder of Pancake Swap in the world at a sub $30 million market cap. And it ended up going to $2.5 billion. Shout out SafeMoon and the whole DeFi degenerate community. You guys made me wealthy. So I appreciate that. And then the second biggest play that I had was the competitor of Pancake Swap known as Bake. And I remember calling Luca Nets. I remember calling Steve Tan when it was sitting at an $8 million market cap. And in fact, I was with Luca. We rented an Airbnb for a week because we were working on an ecom project. It was $8 million. I said, Luca, you need to put 50, 60 grand, 100 grand into this shit. Like, this shit's going to go. He's like, no, whatever. Long story short, I put $50,000 into Bake at $8 million market cap, and it goes to 1.6 billion. So I literally got into a unicorn level VC investment play because I understood the trend of the future. I was aware, and I didn't focus on my past mistakes, but I focused on the lessons that those mistakes taught me. And during the bear market, during the season where people were complaining, they were trying to figure out how to gamble, how to make money, I knew I had my goal. I had my eye on the mission. I knew where I was going, and I was consistent. I was steady. I wasn't perfect, but I was consistent. I was steady, and because I knew my destination. And the big takeaway for me, and this is kind of how I'm going to polish and continue refining, whether it's Capital Club or other endeavors in life, or even personal development, whether it's your physique, whether it's your health, you need to know where you want to go. Mm-hmm. You have to know where you want to go. And if you don't know where you're going to go, just stop, dude. Just like fucking stop for a second. It's better to stop, evaluate where you're going, than move. The American culture is all about action, 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 action. But most people aren't putting out actions. They're not proactive. They are reactive, right? They react to the situations that come to them instead of creating the circumstances in life that they want to see happen. So that's a little brief come up story. And from there, kind of the whole thing kind of emerged.